I'm in there. I'm deep.
That
I'm
that's
backstroking in there.
and that's a lot. That's a
Yeah.
lot scarier than I think than diving into relationships.
No, I think it's exciting. I think diving into a relationship is a lot scarier, the unknown. At least I know there's a good outcome to this.
Yeah, I mean necessarily that there's a good outcome, but I think a lot of people are scared to jump into healing because a lot of people don't necessarily know who they are when they're not having the sort of issues that they have. I mean, a lot of people, if you think about it, who you are as a person is only based off of your experiences in life.
Correct.
So who are you outside of that? And a lot of people are scared to find that out. So I think some people go through the same cycles over and over again, and
to avoid getting to know themselves.
Yeah, to avoid getting to know themselves or meeting new people. I know a lot of people that's scary to meet new people, but life is all about taking risk. I mean, we change. Who you are today could be different from who you were last week. It's just it's that easy.
Yeah.
But it's all about taking the chance to know to accept yourself for your better and your worse, but to also know that that's not still you completely. You can still create more of to make yourself happy of who you are. But that all starts with healing. You gotta. It's almost like digging yourself a ditch, jumping in it, and then digging yourself back up. Like, piling yourself back up. And a lot of people don't want to go through that because who wants to dig themselves a ditch and then jump in it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, no one really wants to do that. But you never know what can happen. You never know who you could be until you get rid of all that ickiness that you've been living through.
The ickiness.
Mm-hmm. And we have another card, Hold Your Vision, the Fixed Moon. So this is more of a card that says, like, don't lose hope. Like, I feel like a lot of people might be like, well, if I don't do this, then this won't happen, or it's such a fixed mindset. When what you really want is, okay, I have a goal in mind, or I have who I want to be, but you also have to take an accountability that, like, the specific path you have in your head to get there might not always work. But you also have to trust that even if I have a setback, I still will get there.
Right.
And that holds a lot of people back because you tend to get discouraged, you know? It's like, oh, I take 2 steps forward and then I take 3 steps back, and you feel like you're going back and forth and back and forth. But again, where that risk-taking comes in, it seems like that path you're taking, it isn't working. And while that may be what you want, or that may be what you have in your head to do,
right,
it's not working. You have to have the bravery to say, let me try something new, even if I've never done it before.
I mean, for this specific, topic, I mean, I feel like I've dated just about everything. And I am losing hope. I'm getting to that point where I just don't think there's somebody out there for me right now. But who knows? I'm going to keep working on myself. And if they don't come, they don't come.
Right. Then there goes, again, our idea of perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
Your, in simple terms, your current state, right, of thinking is that sort of mindset. That you've met everyone that there is out there, and you just don't think that there could be someone out there for you. And whatever reason that you have behind that, of having that mindset, it's all about, healing is all about figuring out where that came from and really how you can move on from that. I mean, it's looking back. What is making me think this? Why do I think that?
It's because everybody out here is all the same. I think moving out this state and meeting people with a different mindset would give me a different outlook. But at least the guys my age in this area are all the same mindset, and it's just very discouraging.
Right, so with that, I think that that's all one perspective.
Close-minded.
Yeah. I just genuinely believe that people are so complex. And while it might seem like a lot of people are the same, or a lot of people are acting the same, that could genuinely just be past experience coming back up to the surface.
Okay, so at what point would you both say, this is a question for both of you, but Tyler, answer first. At what point do you get to know someone, like, where you can be like, okay, this is the same person or this is the same thing, without feeling like you're putting your past experiences on them? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Generally, I would say that the point when you can say that without saying, okay, I'm not projecting anymore. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I think it would just be you going into it with having a mindset of, like, this is a new person, this person is completely new, and no matter who they are or what their situation is, I'm going to try my hardest to go into this with no prejudices at all.
Right.
And that's not to say to ignore any red flags, because that's not really smart. It's just, like, naive. It's not smart to go in like, oh, I'm not going to judge them. I'm just going to dive right in. Well, I mean,
everybody has some sort of red flag. Things that you disagree with, I would say.
Oh, yeah. Like, those are
so it's
more...
about learning how to sift through that and, like you said, not going based off of the surface, but not feeling like an idiot for seeing the flags either. There's, like, a very thin line between ignoring something. I don't want to say ignore. Like, seeing past something to get to the core.
No, yeah, I like to call those little flaws more of, like, pet peeves. Yeah. Like, not dismissing someone straight off because they just have a pet peeve that annoys you, or something that would just, like, that's not necessarily a deal breaker. But I think that what I mean by, like, not being naive, I mean, like, if they do something that's worldly, obviously something you need to run away from. I don't mean to be like, oh, but I don't know them yet, and to keep going into that. I just mean to think of someone generally just just realize that they're completely new. I feel like we're so used to meeting so many people in our life that we're so quick to categorize people. So I feel like when you whether you see them first impressions, first appearances, any little part of their backstory, you can find someone that might be similar to them, and whether you like them, that person that you just compared them to or not, often gravely impacts your perspective on that new person. So generally, I think just taking the time to get to know them and their specificities of who they are, just little things of what they like, how they treat people they meet, showing how, if you're going to a restaurant, how do they treat the waiter there, or how do they handle issues that arise, just things like that. Yeah, I mean, that can tell you a lot about a person. Mm-hmm. And there's always something new about someone. That's the thing I like to say too for advice. Find something new about them. That way, something you've never seen or heard before. I mean, everyone has that. And if you don't know that about someone, you don't know them well enough.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, everyone's different.
That is a good point. All right, what about you, Raven? What do you think?
Sorry, what was the question again?
So, how do you know when you've gotten to that point where I know this person well enough to know that the red flags are really red flags and not just, like, surface level stuff? Like, how do you decipher between if it's a real red flag in something you don't ignore versus, oh, this person has some things I dislike about them, but I should keep getting to know them? Like, when do you know when to run?
I think that varies between a person. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously there's red flags that are just, like, out there and you just know, okay, right, this is it. You need to head out. Mm-hmm. But there's also, just like Tyler said, there's flaws in people. There's some things we might not like in people. Like, for me personally, I'm not a huge fan of Virgos, so whatever.
Virgo over here.
No, so whatever I hear,
yeah, she's Pisces.
So whenever I hear, like, Virgo or, like, male Sagittarius, I'm like, oh, it's time to go. I'm not doing that. I'm not entertaining it. Yeah. I'm personally starting to learn that I have to look past that and learn that, okay, that's not all this person has to add. Right. They're not just that one singular sign on that chart, no matter how much I hate it there. There's a certain point where you can be closed-minded, but there's a point where you have to actually open yourself up to new perspectives, new ideas, right, mm-hmm, even if the person is just not it. I mean, for me, when I make, like, friends, I like feel them out first. Like I people watch. I like to watch them. I don't say much. I just listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll start putting my input in because I want them to feel comfortable with me enough to share what they want, and I want to feel comfortable enough with them to share what I have to say.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Both really good points.
Yeah. And sort of adding on to what Raven said, I sort of feel like, because you know me, I am a highly opinionated about everything.
Yes, you are.
Highly opinioted. Everybody could agree. Pisces again.
I'm surrounded in this room by Pisces.
Highly opinionated. And I sort of feel like, you know, especially, I'm saying this now, Virgos, Geminis, and Pisces too, because I've trashed on my own sign.
I trash on Pisces.
All day, every day, I trash on my own sign. And I sort of feel like, even I was in a closed-minded, like, mindset for the longest. I mean, I sort of feel like you never stop changing and growing. There's always something new to learn every day. Yeah. And as I said, I have met plenty of Virgos before, and I've always had this sort of things about them where I find similarities, which makes it so easy for me to categorize them. Yeah. Like, oh, you're a Virgo and you act like just this person I know. Ugh, like, it turns me off more and more and more and more as time goes on. And even to the point where it's getting where, because I haven't known them enough to figure out that trait I was talking about before, something new that I've never seen before, and I haven't got to know them long enough, it keeps me from getting to that point. Because I've already written them off.
Yeah, that's true.
And from those similarities, until I have actually taken the time to get to know someone who's a Virgo to where I knew them for them, not for anything else. Or knew them for, yeah, you're similar to other Virgos, but there's this thing about you that's different.
Yeah.
And once you find that new trait or that, like, new perspective of them, it clears everything else away. It's like, you're someone outside of my judgment, sort of thing.
See, well, there you have it, folks. You can learn a lot from your children. Still don't tell them your business. But ask these questions because they have a lot more insight than you think. And it's just like, you know, people tend to be like, oh, do you bring someone around your kids, you know, in the beginning, or do you wait, or blah, blah, blah. But I feel like after hearing these good points that they've said, take the time to listen. Like Tyler said, find something new in that specific person. See if you are vibing after that. If not, let them go. If you are, then, you know, you should bring them around your loved ones because they have way more insight and they know you so much better than you know yourself. So on that note, we're going to wrap it up. And I want to thank Tyler and Raven for coming on today.
Yay! Snaps!
And Tyler, where can they find you? Because you do the readings for publicly.
Yeah, I do public readings, both in person if you're local and online if you're not. Many different ways to meet. But if you want to book a reading or any sort of metaphysical service, you can find me at Tyler Tarot on Instagram. Again, that's just at Tyler Tarot on Instagram. And just DM me, email me. All my things are on there if you're interested.
Awesome. All right. And also don't forget to follow us on social media. IG and Snapchat is dirty_podcast. Facebook is just dirty, the letter T, and then podcast. And thank you to our listeners again. We just appreciate your continued support as always. And that's it. It's a wrap. Good night.